Youngsters, today's video is all about adding and subtracting algebraic fractions, all right? Some prerequisites. First, you have to know how to solve a quadratic. You have to know how to factorize a quadratic using the column method. Basic algebra. You also have to know how to add and subtract fractions. Let's start with adding and subtracting fractions, because here we have two fractions, and we're adding and subtracting them, okay? So let's just think of an example of how we add and subtract fractions. So like, for example, 1/8 plus 2/5. In order to add and subtract fractions, you need a common denominator. Since the denominators aren't the same, we have to make them the same. And we think, what's the lowest common multiple of 8 and 5? Well, the lowest common multiple is 40. 8 goes into 40, 5 goes into 40. So 1/8 is the same as, from 8 to 40 times by 5, so you times the top by 5. 5/40ths. And 2/5 equals 40ths. To get from 5 to 40, you times by 8. And you times the numerator by 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. And once the denominators are the same, you just add them together. So 5 plus 16 is 21 over 40. So we just keep this idea in mind of how to add and subtract fractions, all right? So here, x plus 5 over 10 minus x plus 4 over 2 equals 1. And the question is to solve. So I wrote that down. Solve means to find the unknown. Well, first I'm going to ignore this 1. That's going to come later. What I noticed is I noticed that there are two fractions which are being subtracted. So I know, okay, if I want to subtract fractions, I need to find a common denominator. So what's the lowest common multiple of 10 and 2? Well, the 10 times tables are 10, 20, 30. And the 2 times tables are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Pretty obvious the lowest common multiple is 10. So if our lowest common multiple is 10, we don't have to change this because it's already 10. To get from 2 to 10, I'm going to times it by 5. So I'm going to times the numerator by 5 too. So let's write it out. So the first fraction stays as it is. And am I going to times x by 5 or 4 by 5? We're going to times both terms by 5. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 4 is positive 20 over 10 equals 1. Now, since both denominators are 10, we can combine the numerators. So x minus 5x is negative 4x. And 5 minus 20 is negative 15 over 10 equals 1. So we've simplified the left-hand side. We've gone from two fractions to just one fraction. And now we can solve by rearranging. So x is being multiplied by negative 4, minus 15, and divided by 10. So I'm going to get rid of that fraction. The opposite of dividing by 10 is timesing by 10. And I'll balance it out on the other side. So that cancels out. Minus 4x minus 15. 1 times 10 is 10. X is being multiplied by minus 4, then minus 15. So I'm going to plus 15. And I'll balance it out. That disappears. So minus 4x equals 25. X is being multiplied by negative 4, so I'm going to divide by negative 4. So x is equal to 25 divided by negative 4, which is negative 6.25. And that's how you find your answer. So you say, okay, I'm subtracting fractions. In order to subtract and add any fractions, I need a common denominator. So you write out both fractions with a common denominator, simplify them to make one fraction, and then solve by rearranging. You can do these ones by yourself. Here, we have to solve this. So I'm like, all right, there's two fractions. I'm subtracting them. I have to find a common denominator. Well, what's a common denominator of x plus 1 and x plus 4? Whenever we're having a really hard time finding a common denominator, there's a trick we can use. For example, let's say we're doing 2/7 plus 3/11. What's the lowest common multiple of 7 and 11? Well, one way you can find a common multiple, it might not be the lowest common multiple, but if it's a common multiple is you just multiply the numbers, 7 times 11. So our denominator will be 77. So we can say 2/7 equals 77 times 11 times 11, 3/11 equals 7 times 7 times 7, and you can add them up. So you can just multiply this by the other side and multiply 11 by the other side, okay? So you can follow the same logic here. I'm like, boom, it's pretty hard to find a common denominator. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply x plus 1 by the other side, x plus 4. And what you do to one side, you do to the other side. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. And then here, I'll times x plus 4 by x plus 1. I'll times this by x plus 1. So 2, and I'll expand the brackets, 2x plus 8. I'll leave this as it is, x plus 1, x plus 4. Minus 10x plus 10, so expanded the brackets. X plus 4, x plus 1, doesn't really matter order, equals negative 1. Then we can say, oh, okay, cool. The denominators are the same. I can combine the numerators. So 2x minus 10x is negative 8x. And 8 minus 10 is negative 2. Our denominator stays the same. So x plus 1, x plus 4 equals negative 1. Then perhaps we can, let's expand the brackets, all right? So we have to use FOIL, or however way you want to expand double brackets. So I'll do it over here to just create some space. I'll do it over here. So x plus 1, x plus 4. First, x times x is x squared. Outside, x times 4 is 4x. Inside, 1 times x is 1x. And last, 1 times 4 is 4. So you have to know how to expand brackets so we can combine the like terms. X squared, 4x plus x is 5x plus 4. So we can simplify that to minus 8x minus 2 over x squared plus 5x plus 4 equals minus 1. Now we get to solve this. Ooh, all right. First, let's get rid of this nasty fraction. So to get rid of dividing by x squared plus 5x plus 4, we're going to times by x squared plus 5x plus 4. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Plus 4. So that cancels out. So on the left-hand side, we're left with negative 8x minus 2. On the right-hand side, we're going to multiply all the terms by minus 1. So minus 1 times x squared is minus x squared. Minus 1 times 5x is minus 5x. And minus 1 times 4 is negative 4. Negative 4. Ooh, gangsters. Do you see something? We have a quadratic. There's a square term, there's some x terms, and some number terms. All right? But remember, in order to solve a quadratic, the other side must be 0. So let's rearrange it so one side is 0. Well, first of all, I hate seeing a negative x squared, so I'm going to plus x squared. So plus x squared. I've got to do the same thing to the other side, plus x squared. So I have x squared minus 8x minus 2 equals, that cancels out, negative 5x minus 4. Perfect, our squared is positive. So I'll make this side 0. So I'll plus 5x. So I'll plus 5x here. So x squared minus 8x plus 5x is minus 3x minus 2. That cancels out, equals negative 4. Then I'll plus 4. I'll plus 4 here. So x squared minus 3x minus 2 plus 4 is plus 2 equals 0. Boom. So it's a quadratic. The other side is equal to 0. You can't solve a quadratic by rearranging. You must factorize using the column method. Okay? So we should know this by now. If you see a quadratic and you want to solve it, the other side must be 0, and you must factorize it using the column method. So boom, boom. Think of two numbers that make x squared. Well, x times x. Think of two numbers that make 2. 2 times 1. Let's double check. X times 2 is 2x. X times 1 is 1x. That makes 3x. Oh, I want negative 3x. So, ooh, how about, negative 2 times negative 1 makes 2. Let's double check. X times negative 2 is negative 2x. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. And that's negative 3x. Boom. Combine the terms diagonally. X minus 1, x minus 2 equals 0. Get the first bracket. X minus 1 equals 0. We're going to plus 1 on both. Oh, that's pretty easy, actually. What minus 1 is 0? Well, x must be 1. And x minus 2 equals 0. What minus 2 is 0? Well, x must be 2. And that's how you solve this sort of question, okay? So to find your common denominator, all I did was I multiplied x plus 1 by what's on the other side. And the same thing here. I multiplied x plus 4 by x plus 1. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. Get this. Since the denominators are the same, you can combine the numerators together. Then I expanded the brackets. got rid of the fraction, saw a quadratic, but rearranged it to make a perfect quadratic. So I made it like this, okay? Then I solved by factorizing.